So actually, I almost failed my skills test and Airbreaks test at the DMV. But the reason is so hilarious. I'm gonna let you know what really happened at the DMV. So, but I made a video the day before my DMV test telling you my expectations. I told you in the video that I was gonna fail, which I did. I failed on the road test, but I did my air brakes and my skills test, and I passed it. But I never talked about what really happened during the skills and the air brakes test. So today I'm gonna explain exactly what happened. So my appointment was supposed to be at 8:30. 8:30. I didn't start my test until almost 11:30. So that's one thing that I noticed at the DMV. You get an appointment at 8:30, but you can be there. Someone told me you can even be there longer than that. But anyway, so I start my pre-trip inspection. No. It was the air brakes. I started with the air brakes. So I jumped into the car. The lady was really nice. She had a stern look on her face. I think they try not to be friendly. I was friendly. I'm a jolly person. So I tried to, be friendly and, okay, talk to her and stuff like that. But she always kept it professional and everything. And I like that. So, but I think they also don't want to feel pity for you. They want to be serious and not have any, kind of like pity for you if like maybe you fail. But anyway, fast forward. This is where it gets interesting. So we jump into the car. I do my air brakes, but I also tell you one thing. Throughout the whole thing, she never really looked to see what I was doing. She was checking her iPad the whole time. I don't know what she was taking off, maybe standard procedure. The only time though, when she came and looked was when she was seeing, like when I'm talking about maybe the PSI is at 95, the gauge is at 95, then she only came like once and looked to see if I was mentioning the right value. But for the rest of the air brakes test, she was literally seated like in the passenger seat, taking off stuff, and and then when I was done, she was like, okay, let's go out for the pre-trip inspection, the outside inspection, sorry. So we jump out in the for the outside inspection. We go around, we do the checks. Same thing. She's checking off things off the iPad. She really like looks at you just a little bit. I think all she wants is to hear what you're saying. She doesn't really look to see what you're pointing at. Maybe once in a while she looks, but most of the time, my observation is that she's ticking off things off her iPad, and then once in a while she looks at and sees what you're doing, and she goes back to her iPad. So when I was done with the outside inspection, now now here comes the most interesting part. So we go to the skills test. So she tells me, yeah, go, drive to the skills area and then I'll meet you there. So we go through the first skills. She explains to me, you're going to be doing this, drive up here, stop here, honk, blah, blah, blah. So I do the first, tests. I drive up and then stop in the right place. I honk. She comes at me. She looks, she checks, she sees that everything is fine. I go to the next one. Now, the part where I almost fell, or the part where she almost failed me, the offset. So when I was doing the offset, but remember, I wasn't the only person who was doing the test that day. So there was another track, and every time you have to honk when you're done. So. So I do the maneuver and everything. Well, she explains to me, do this, do that, do that. I'm like, okay, cool. So when I do the maneuver and I back up, there's a box where you're supposed to actually stop. And then you're supposed to honk to let her know that you're done, So when I back up the truck and I come to the box and I honk, she doesn't actually hear that I've honked. I don't know, because she was on her pad. Remember, she's always on her pad ticking off stuff. So I honk. I look in the side mirror. I look at her like she's looking up. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm good to go. So I back up all the way. I check the truck outside of the whole zone. So I jump out of the truck and she comes to me and she tells me, you failed. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you failed. I was like, why? She told me, you didn't honk. I was like, what? I did honk. I even looked in the side mirror and I saw you looking like you were looking at the truck. I thought like you were giving me a thumbs up, like, hey, back up all the way. And she told me, are you sure you honked? I was like, yes, I did honk. She was like, okay, I didn't hear you honk. I was like, I did honk. I did honk. Like I repeated it like maybe 2-3 times. And she was like, okay, we shall go to the road. Go park the truck there, and then we take a break 10 minutes. We shall be back and go for the road, the drive test around the street. So that is how I kind of like survived the skills and air brakes test. I almost failed on that because I didn't honk. So this goes out to all people that are preparing for their CDL skills test, air brakes, and everything. It happened to me. It can happen to you. Usually, I don't know about your DMVs, wherever you're training from, but we had like 2 people doing the same test at the same time. So people are honking the whole time. You need to be careful before you complete the maneuver. Make sure you've honked and your examiner actually has realized that you've honked, because I almost failed because I didn't honk. Okay, so it can happen to you. So that's the only advice I can give you in my experience with the skills test and air brakes test. But I hope you enjoyed the short, the really short experience at the DMV. I'm going back to the DMV next week on Thursday for my second try. So I will have training on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday I'll go. I'll give my observation of my expectations, but I hope also that I can nail it this time and I can come back and tell you about my success story. Okay. If you like my content, don't forget, check out all the videos on the channel. And if you really want to know more about the differences between Sweden and the US when it comes to tracking, don't miss a video on my channel. Okay. And don't forget, ride like a big shot.